What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! House. Guys, we did it. We qualified for nationals. We went to the Duluth regional, 430 plus people.
Something like that.
Something huge, right? I think it was one of the biggest events Georgia has ever held.
Second biggest regional
Second biggest regional, yeah, that Georgia has ever held. So it was definitely a grueling tournament. Barely had any time to eat, barely had any sleep. But we pulled through and we brought Branded. So let's go ahead and jump right in.
Let them know the top 32.
Oh,
top
I'm sorry,
32.
yeah. Top 32, yes. Guys, I only dropped 2 matches the entire time I was there. 9 rounds, by the way. And it was just...
6-2-1 was the record. 6 wins.
Yeah, 6-2-1. My draw was with Labyrinth. We just went into time. I mean, nothing really you can do about that. First match just lasted forever. Between compulsing and D-barrier and all this different traps they can search. Yeah, that deck is insane. Deck is definitely insane. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and hop right in. All right, tell me where, are you doing this good spot right here?
Yeah.
All right. So, of course, 3 copies of Alubia, Jester of Despia. Very, very good. I would not cut this in any sort of capacity. Its floating effect is very, very good. I think a lot of people were caught off guard by its floating effect. Maybe it just wasn't very well known that its floating effect negates effects. But overall, very, very good, very solid. 1 tragedy, 1 ad libitum. Not much to say about these. These were really underwhelming. Kind of have to play them because of the grind game. This one brings back a fusion. This one helps recycle from grave. So again, huge in the grind game. Other than that, pretty shitty. 2 Fallen of Albaz.
The boy himself.
I wanted to play 3, but I'm honestly glad I played 2. 3 is kind of like training wheels. 2 is when you really get the deck to function at a really high rate, a 40-card deck, so super consistent. 1 Blazing Cartesia. She was really, really good. I mean, insane the entire tournament, turning break hands into just amazing hands. Helping fuse with Fallen of Albaz once Branded Fusion gets ashed. Very, very good. Springin's Kit, again here for consistency. Not much to say about her. Albion was insane, I'm not gonna lie. There were times where I would force it into grave just to make it Fallen of Albaz. Very, very good. Its draw power was very, very
extra
powerful.
draw 1 is always gonna be nice.
It's an upstart goblin that you can search for.
It's always gonna be nice.
Yep. 2 Trapper Courier. I would still play this at 2. I wouldn't bump it up to 3. I think 2 was perfect. 1 for the fusion material, 1 to use as a hand trap. There were times where I would even use both of them as hand traps, where I wouldn't even go into the Rhinebrum. But yeah, overall, very good.
Searchable hand trap is always nice.
Oh man, I'm not even gonna lie. These cards were very, very bad. There were a lot of times where I would open them together. So it's a very small bestial package. I think I got punished for playing a small bestial package. I don't know. I think maybe in the future I actually might cut these. Even decks that are affected by it, like decks that play a heavy amount of light and dark monsters, it just never seemed as impactful as it could have been. I don't know.
If you were to cut them, what would you opt to put in?
What would I opt to put in? Maybe the 3rd Albaz and a 2nd Ecclesia. Not Ecclesia, sorry.
Cartesia?
Cartesia, yeah, exactly. That's probably what I would do. But other than that, I would say the Bishop Rebellion is probably the one I would cut and probably keep Saranir, because Saranir's effect in grave did help me to get to Branded Fusion. Because once you don't open Branded Fusion, there are plays you can make where you can get Branded Fusion to grave with Retribution and get it to hand. So. And 1 card that I actually didn't see any other Branded player playing was a single copy of Tournament Sharon. This card was insane. Like, I don't have a lot of words for this card, but just absolutely off the wall. Being able to make Lubellion with this, an extra fusion, I would almost always go into Masquerade and just put a lot of pressure on my opponent. Not only that, she can make Mud Dragon of the Swamp, which is huge against what I was expecting a lot of my matchups to be, which were Brunic, Kashtira. All of those decks have to target 2 do their huge disruption pieces. So Mud Dragon in the Swamp was huge, and she just helps facilitate that. I think there was a game where I actually hard opened her with branded opening, and that was just way too much gas.
Yeah.
Just way too much gas. There's no reason this card should be at 3. There's no reason this card should be at 3. There are games where I would resolve this card like 4 times in a duel just because Springen's Kick can bring it back. I mean, Branded Fusion, there's not much to say. I don't think this will be around for the Nationals season.
It's the ultimate fusion card.
When I do go to Nationals, I don't know if this card will still be around at 3. It's really sad to say. But, I mean, it's really healthy for the game if this card does get hit because, I mean, you resolve this card, you win. So, yeah. Branded Opening, again, another card that was a little underwhelming, in my opinion. I think it was very good when paired with cards like Shirin or Tragedy or even the Albion, the Shrouded Dragon, because when engraved, it's Albaz. But other than that, I mean, Branded Opening was more so for consistency. You knew that if you saw it in hand with nothing else, you could at least get to Alibur and at least get to Branded Fusion. So playing 3 is honestly kind of mandatory, while the card is very underwhelming. Oh, and I almost forgot. Its protection effect is huge. That is what really sets this card apart. I found myself dumping it to grave a lot, so I wouldn't lose to stupid cards like Dark Hole or Raigeki and crap like that everyone's playing for Kashtira. Branded in Red was huge. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little upset that I didn't play 2. It came up big in my Labyrinth matchup to go into Guardian Chimera to pop 2. There was a Pendulum deck I played against. I popped his scales, his 2 pen scales with Guardian Chimera. Yeah, I mean, Branded in Red, I honestly do wish I might have played 2. It's still really good.
Guardian Chimera as a quick effect is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly,
So.
exactly, literally, so. All right. Branded lost. This card was really the MVP. People really didn't understand how this card would work. They'd call the judge over and stuff, and they'd have to explain it to them that, I don't have to pass priority back. That's just insane. And on top of that, it's a searcher. I found myself oftentimes searching for Mercurier. I wanted to play around Nibiru. Everyone and their mother was playing Nibiru, and I mean everybody. So if you are playing into Nibiru, more than often than not, you're gonna get Nibiru.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I found myself not wanting to overextend, and I think that's what really took me far in the tournament. Again, 9 rounds of Swiss is, I mean, plenty of opportunities to get Nibiru. So Lost came up huge to search for Mercurier.
Absolutely.
And the last branded spell and trap that I run is Branded Retribution. There's really not much to say about this card. Its grind game aspect is pretty good. Being able to, recycle the card from branded spell or trap from grave. Its effect on field honestly was a little underwhelming. I didn't find myself with a lot of opportunities to use it. I set it against the Kashtira matchup. And I guess, I was able to negate Theosis without having to use a monster effect, so he wasn't able to rip a card out of my extra deck with Unicorn. But I mean, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Definitely got to play it, though. Definitely have to play it because of Albion and Surinir, and it makes plays out of nothing, so. Now the non-engine stuff, 3 copies of Fusion Deployment. Wow, I mean, holy wow. Holy wow. If you're not playing Fusion Deployment in your branded deck, I highly recommend that you consider it. And I consider it at 3. Like, consider this a playset because it would just play through Ash like nothing. Okay, so what if they Ash Blossom you? Okay, Fusion Deployment, bring out Cartesia.
Yep.
Cartesia helps dodge targeting like Effect Veiler, Infinite Permanence. I mean, this card was huge all freaking tournament. This card was insane. Not only that, it's essentially a board breaker because you can bring out Fallen of Albaz from the deck. And I thought that was really, really good. I thought that its versatility is what really solidified its spot in the deck. I really like it. Some consistency cards. Foolish Burial is not one-dimensional. You can dump Tragedy. And if you really, really want to fuse, or if you really need to fuse, you can dump Shirin, which I thought was huge. And it came up a lot, actually. Foolish Burial was actually really, really good. If I was going into side, I would actually side out Gold Sark and not Foolish Burial. Because
it's another way to play around Ash. If they Ash Brain of Fusion,
exactly,
just drop Shiren, then you
boom,
fuse immediately.
Exactly. Took the words right out of my mouth, because Foolish Burial, I mean, helps you play around Ash. I would never try to bait the Ash with Foolish. I would rather have them Ash Brain of Fusion and then play through it with Foolish Burial. Gold Sark, again, like I said, consistency card. You bring it in when you're going first, side it out when you're going second, because you know you'll be able to get that extra draw. So it's you're not too worried about the consistency at that point. But yeah, going first, Gold Sark is pretty big. Being able to banish Tragedy for the Luber, or Mercurier for the Springen's Kit if you want to search for Branded, or you can also search for Cartesia. Caught by the Grave, you need it, because, you know, Ash is Ash. And the ultimate freaking spice card. I have not seen a single Branded player play this card. I have no idea why. I honestly thought that a lot of people were going to catch on to this trend. Anytime I drop this card, I'm telling you, every single time I activated this card, I won the game. It won me my last round. It got me my invitational. I mean, this card is insane. And I'll show you guys what I actually pair it with. I pair it with Millenniumized Restrict. This helps you dodge Ash. And there were a lot of times that after the match, my opponent would be like, wow, I had the Ash in hand, and I was just terrified of Millenniumized Restrict. So, yeah, I mean, this card is a house, man. Being able to just instant fusion that out is just unfair. Yeah. And 3 copies of Ash.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Insane, this format.
Exactly. Pretty good. Like, okay against Kashtira, but it's mostly for the mirror match.
Yeah. Even against things like Sword Soul,
Yes,
Labyrinth.
exactly.
It's insane against Labyrinth.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Let's not forget that Labyrinth matchup. Ashing the Welcome Labyrinth,
Or Big
even
Welcome.
Big Welcome. Yeah.
Super strong.
Huge. That comes up huge. You're not able to get the big ladies out on the field, and they just have a snowball of effects that start to pile up on you. Looping D-Barrier. So the only way to really, prevent
Slow
that
them
from
down.
happening, exactly, is Ash Blossom and Joy of Spring. Sword Soul, I actually didn't face during the tournament, but in theory, you would want to hit Emergence, and that would most likely stop their turn.
Yeah.
3 copies of Nibiru.
How did it perform for you today?
It was okay. I didn't see it when I needed it. I'm not gonna lie. I actually got 5 zones locked in game 1 against Kashtira. That's one of my losses. Yeah, 5 zones locked in the first game, and in the third game I got 9 zones locked. So yeah, I didn't see Nibiru when I needed it, but when it came up huge. I mean, freaking huge. Nibiru was insane. And the last card in my deck to round out 40 cards is Book of Eclipse.
How'd you feel about the card? I personally found it a little underwhelming today, to be honest with you.
I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty okay. If you flip Mirror Jade and flip it back up, you can use its effect again.
Yeah. In your deck, I guess it does have multiple
Yeah,
applications.
that's what I'm saying. From an offensive standpoint, it did not come up. I'm not gonna lie. From an offensive standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, yeah, it did come up. It helped me dodge Imperm, it helped me dodge Valor. But, I mean, from a defensive standpoint, getting 9 zones locked, you can't even use this. So. Yeah. So, I think my hand in that last game was 2 Eclipse, 2 Lunar, a B Fusion, and I don't even remember what I top decked, because I was just like, yeah, man, you got the game. So, that's that. Now into the extra deck. Rhinebrum, very, very good. It came up against Kashtira to bounce the Arise Heart. Other than that, it's not really good in the Sword Soul matchup. Again, I didn't see Sword Soul, but I was testing against these guys like crazy. And, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't really find myself going into it. I don't think you need 2. I see a lot of people playing 2. You definitely don't need 2. 1 is all you really need. Alba Lanatus. I was only using it for its graveyard effect. I did not summon this card once. So it was just really to search for fusion deployment and or Branded Fusion. One Lubellion. If you snipe it from my extra deck, you're foolish. That's really all I gotta say. You make Sharon, you could dump Sharon directly from the deck with it, with Branded Fusion. I mean, you really don't find yourself going into this card a lot, to be honest. It's kind of lost its power in the deck. Next, 2 copies of Albion. Very, very good. You're dumping one, hard making one. You really want access to it. As a fusion monster, you do want to fusion summon it. But other than that, its graveyard effect is insane. Yeah, its graveyard effect is insane. Setting up Branded in red for that Guardian Chimera play, just too good against decks like Labyrinth if they don't open up the Lord. 2 Mirror Jade. You need 2 because, not that you'll summon 2, but if they snipe it from your extra deck, then, well, I mean, that's the game. You might as well sign the slip there. Masquerade.
Tax Dragon.
The Tax Dragon, yeah, not much to say about this card. I mean, they game 3 ender, I guess you could call it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Queritus. Nobody reads this card. Nobody reads this card. Every time somebody would get rid of it and I would be like, okay, effect to special summon from the deck, everyone would have to scramble to grab the card and read it and be like, oh my god, no, like, it's gonna special summon Fallen of Albas from the deck. Yeah, so nobody reads this card. You can cheat it out with Guignol, and Guignol was a little underwhelming. I found myself playing in a Triple Tactics Talent a lot with this card. I'm not gonna lie, Triple Tactics Talent and Thrust. I played into it quite a bit with this card. I don't know. Not that I'll cut it or anything, because fusion deployment with this card, you can reveal it, especially on Blazing Cartesia from the deck, and help dodge things like Imperm Veiler, like I said before.
Beats Ash.
So yeah, of course, beats Ash. You don't want to cut this, but in terms of its, oh man, it was just a bit underwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. The opposite of underwhelming. Holy freaking cow! This might as well be the freaking ace monster of the deck. Holy freaking cow! Every single time I summon this card, it won me the game. That is not even an exaggeration. Every single time I summon this card, it won me the game. There was a lot of times where I would talk with almost always, I would talk with my opponent after the match, and they all had the same thing to say. Holy freaking cow, why do you run this card? That card's insane. And it helps you dodge Ash. It negated Regulus for me in my last match. I mean, yeah, this is insane. This card is absolutely freaking crazy. Even going second, it helps crack boards. Keep in mind, a Rise Heart's effect is mandatory. So yeah, I mean, this card is freaking crazy. I have nothing. If you're gonna take anything away from this video, get Instant Fusion, get Medallion Mize Restrict, start comboing off.
They're both cheap. They got printed in Mama.
Mud Dragon of the Swamp. I made this with Sharon a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I made this with Sharon, blind going first, when I was scared of decks that had to target a lot. This did put a halt on the Labyrinth player for maybe a turn, because I mean he was able to chain to it in the draw phase. But yeah, not being able to target your cards and your monsters, it's pretty freaking good. It's pretty freaking good.
We're back to a format where pretty much every big deck has to target to remove.
Exactly.
There's not a lot of non-targeting removal.
Yep.
So.
Especially Kashtira. So Mud Dragon in the Swamp did come up. I played Garura. You'll see on the side I play Super Poly. I didn't drop this once. I'm not gonna lie. I'm thinking about cutting this.
The draw effect ever come up?
No. I like I said, I didn't drop this once. You can dump it off Guignol to draw a card. And I never found myself doing that, because why would I do that if I can dump Albion or if I can dump Lubellion from the main deck?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I didn't even find myself using this card. Even when I had Super Poly, I didn't drop it.
Would you consider cutting it?
I would consider cutting it. This is one of the cards in my extra deck that I would cut. Maybe for another fusion, maybe Brygrin to search for McCourier. I don't know. Maybe the second Lubellion. I guess it could come up. And if they do, well, no, I honestly would not play a second Lubellion. No, I would not. I don't know what I would cut this card for. in theory, it's a fantastic. The draw, the super poly potential, yeah. So this is the card I did make a lot. Predaplan Dragostapelia. When you do drop Millenniumize Restrict and you get Shirin Engrave, you can fuse them into Dragostapelia, which was really, really insane. Dragostapelia just came up huge the entire tournament. There's not much to say. Being able to target, negate, and change the level, I mean, it's just way too impressive. Yeah, there's really not much else to say about it. And Guardian Chimera, the last card in my extra deck, was, I don't know. When it did come up, it came up huge, but it wasn't like I was dropping it every single game.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here in front with you. I wasn't dropping it every single freaking game. Labyrinth and the Pendulum player both got punished very hard by this card, so you definitely need to play it. But playing it at 2 would be, I don't know, would be foolish. Oh, I will admit that the Kashtira player went out of his way to banish this card, which I thought was really weird. I don't know. I did think it was a little weird that he sniped Guardian Chimera, maybe because you can pop the 2 level 7s before you can exceed.
Probably. That's probably why.
But he had Birth on field, so I
then
don't know
you
what
can
he was
extend.
worried about.
Unless his hand was bad enough he couldn't extend with just Birth. But
Okay.
yeah, popping the 2 level 7s before they get a chance to play and then not getting the trigger for either of them is pretty big. So I guess I understand it, but I feel like there might have been bigger threats than the Guardian.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's that on that. Now into the side deck.
Some spice.
Yeah, the side deck was a little weird, I'm not gonna lie. So this originally was Lightning Storm, and that got cut because I was terrified of Ibli. I mean, I'm terrified of Ibli. And was practicing a lot against Naturia Runic, and I found myself not even being able to use Lightning Storm a lot of times. Cosmic Cyclone did come up very, very big to be able to chain to Floodgates in the draw phase. So Cosmic Cyclone did... This, honestly, honestly should be a third Cosmic Cyclone. I didn't see this against Labyrinth, which is very, very sad. Again, we went into time, we tied. So, but Cosmic Cyclone, yeah. Cosmic Cyclone was huge. So this honestly might be a third Cosmic Cyclone, though that is not that good against Runic.
Yeah.
This was more so to counter anyone's side, going into Floodgates, going into Anti-Spell, things like that. I was able to... This did win me my last match, actually. Or helped win me my last match. Honestly, it was Millenniumize Restrict. But Cosmic Cyclone did come up to banish a Floodgate that they had flipped in draw phase. So yeah, Cosmic Cyclone did come up, and honestly, I would play 3. Three copies of Super Poly. The deck can play it. I wouldn't main deck it. Even now, even with what I know now, I wouldn't main deck it. I sent a branded player home with this.
Oh, really? I was going to say, seeing as you didn't summon Garura, how often did this really come up?
I sent a branded player home with this. I felt so bad. He's just so disheartened after his match with me. I hit him with cross out. I hit him with Super Volley. I mean,
oh, no.
I felt so bad.
Oh, no.
I did feel pretty bad. I sent him home. He signed the drop box and on the slip and just packed his shit up and left. He was pissed. He was not in a good mood. So I did feel pretty bad about that, I'm not gonna lie. But other than that, Super Poly did come up pretty big. It does help you dodge targeting. I don't know. It does have its different application in branded. I can't speak for it as a card on its own. I just know that it's insane in branded, and you definitely should consider at least 2 in the side. 3 enemy controller. Oh my sweet baby Jesus, this card was this card was crazy. This card was crazy. I don't think anybody was really expecting this card.
I only ran into one person playing it, one other person playing it. It was a Sprite player, and he would use it to trigger his Ibli to give it to me. Which is pretty nasty.
Okay, that's actually pretty nasty, yeah.
Take control of my Baron and give me an Ibli. And so, yeah, it's a pretty good card.
Yeah, and that's honestly what this card is for the Ibli, it's for the Ra's Disciple, it's for the, not necessarily the Gimmick Puppet. Gimmick Puppet is
pretty gimmicky. You know, no
yeah,
pun intended.
right.
That's such
yeah,
a, such
right.
a gimmick card.
Summon it and you just win. So, and you'll see I'm not playing that. That combo line is very fragile. I will admit that combo line is very, very fragile. And if you commit to it and it gets stopped, you're gonna lose the game. So, yeah, that's that.
Another way to dodge targeting and going second, just being able to steal the biggest threat on the board with that enemy controller.
Yeah, exactly. And then 3 copies of Book of Lunar Eclipse. I don't know. I like this card more than the actual Book of Eclipse. This came up a lot more.
Can't be ashed.
Yeah, it can't be ashed. And I actually did find myself in appreciating the discard. So maybe in the future, I'm not sure. I don't know if that's a very short-sighted thing. Because like I said, I only dueled against the 1 Cashier player. And in game 3, I couldn't even use this because he had locked down 9 zones. So I couldn't even use my spell and trap zones. So yeah, I mean, but when it did come up, it came up huge. And there are a lot of decks right now that are relying on monsters being face up. So yeah. So Book of Lunar Eclipse again is another out to cards like Ibli. What's that card? Contact C.
Contact C.
I didn't get hit with Contact C, but I was expecting it. And again, it's why I run cards like the Econ and the Book of Lunar. You know, I didn't want to get cheesed out of being able to play the game. And finally, 2 copies of Crossout with the 1D barrier. What can I say? This is probably the MVP of this side deck. I'm not gonna lie to you. I crossed out everything. I mean, I crossed out everything.
Yeah,
I even crossed out a Branded Fusion in the mirror match.
That's insane. That's so disgusting.
I crossed out a Branded Fusion in the mirror match. I crossed out the D barrier. I crossed out Ash. I crossed out Nibiru. I even crossed out a freaking Book of Eclipse. I mean, wow. Holy wow. If you build your deck keeping in mind all the meta techs, then I feel like Crossout Designator, that's when Crossout Designator becomes insanely good. But
yeah, I regret cutting it from my side.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, guys, that is it. That is it.
Any final thoughts on the deck, on the day?
Definitely shout out to my fiance. She definitely supports a lot. It's one thing to put up with Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's another thing to really support your partner, and she definitely does. She went half on me for the hotel room in Duluth and got a lot of play testing in. She got me my mat, she got me my deck box. So yeah, oh yeah, the mat, the deck box. So definitely shout out to her. Definitely my biggest shout out. Another shout out to the man behind the camera. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Camilo. The guys at Yu-Gi-Oh House for being very, very supportive. For putting up with the crazy shit that I put in my deck and being like, Kevin, cut that. Like, why are you playing that? Cut that. So yeah, being real with me, having friends that can not afraid to tell you that probably not a good idea. Shout out to Jorge for doing a lot of testing with us. And shout out to Dabbers for real for putting on the event. Definitely shout out to Dabbers. You guys got me my nationals invite.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you guys got me my nationals.
Top 32.
Invite. Top 32, yes. So I'm going to nationals, and I will be bringing you guys a vlog from nationals, and we are working on our vlog from this recent WCQ regional. We're working on that, trying to get that video out to you guys. And again, shout out to you guys. Shout out to all the people showing support to Yu-Gi-Oh House. We've had a lot of people recently comment on our previous branded video, what you would do more so for the current meta now that it's a bit more defined, and this is what I would do. This is what I would do. This is how you get to nationals, guys. Thank you and peace.